All right. Hey, boys and girls, I'm here with Nick Peterson. Nick, for the 16 people watching this video that did not watch our first video, tell the guys who you work for and what exactly you do, if you don't mind.
Sure, Ken, it's great to chat with you as always. I'm here at Mercury Racing in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, and I have the great honor of being the performance propeller manager. So I handle all the day-to-day work for sales, marketing, a little bit on the service side as well for propellers, as well as some of the project management and new prop development on that side. So it's a great role. We've got a great team up here in Fond du Lac, and we're really excited about all the new props that have been coming out and all the great engine products as well that have been coming out now for the last few years.
Yeah, you've got to do some fun testing recently, right?
Absolutely. We have a great spread. I get to interact with all sorts of different customers. And this time of the year is a great example. We went from the Miami Boat Show, which was a lot of testing with the big offshore center consoles. Obviously, we had the new 400 RV10 released. We did a lot of prop testing and development around that. And then in 2 weeks, we'll go to the Bassmaster Classic and get to work with all the single engine bass boat guys. And we just got done with a big round of testing on the Basscat Jaguar.
The big one, yeah.
400R in the back.
And were y'all at Lake X or whatever it's called?
Yep. Yeah, I didn't go down myself, but we have our great team of product integration engineers down there between Mike Griffiths, Roy Mitchell, and Lance Singleton that work direct with the factory team from Basscat to really get that boat dialed in, and they ran off 4 or 5 different props on it. They had some really great results, and that'll be on the main stage in the Basscat booth in 2 weeks. So looking forward to seeing it there.
All right, so a question for you. What's the fastest you've been in a boat?
Fastest I've ever been would have to be in a 368 Skater with twin 1350s, and that was 165.
165 miles an hour.
Right.
Was this helmet and the whole thing?
Just a nice lifeline. But I mean, in the boats that big, it's very stable. Obviously, it's a lot of torque, and you're going that fast. But in a boat that big, it's pretty comfortable. And
how big a boat is that?
That was a 36.
Oh, I cannot even imagine.
Yeah, but with the prop dialed in right, it doesn't fly the bow or anything like that. It stays pretty planted. So that was a great setup. And I have a personal boat. I run drag racing type little boats. I have a little STV river rocket that'll run over 100. So in many different ways, that feels a lot faster than going 150, 100 in a big skater.
Yeah. So you got the need for speed.
I do. Yeah. It's been passion my whole life. And that's really how I got into it. My dad raced stock upwards in the 80s. And naturally, I always glommed onto that. And he had me in the shop at a really young age. And I've been in love with it ever since. And he still gravitates more to the stuff from the 60s and 70s, but I love the 80s, 90s, metal flake, hydro streams, STVs, all that good stuff.
So you like to get after it.
I do. Yep.
Yeah. Cool deal. So do you get to convince the guys there that you're testing props every once in a while? Say, I gotta go test this.
Every once in a while. Yeah. Yep.
Outstanding.
So that's the cool part about it is, man, we have 20 of the best prop grinders in the world down there. So if I ever want to make little tweaks and modifications to my stuff, they're just a few steps away.
Yeah. So as you and I talked, and kind of what brought us back to this conversation is actually a video that got posted last week. I had a guy who was going through props, but come to find out his problem probably wasn't as much his prop as it was the bottom of the boat. Mm-hmm. But in that conversation, you mentioned to me that you guys got some new prop offerings out, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I launched that we had at Miami, which coincided with the new 400R, was the Ventera line of props, which really, that formula came to be about 2 years ago when we had to develop a new 27 pitch Rev 4 casting, specifically out of the racing department. And that really spawned from the launch of the 450R and guys running 25 pitch Rev 4s on these triple quad and quint engine center consoles. And they loved the pitch. They loved the way that it made the boat handle and everything that the Rev 4 had to offer, but they were running out of pitch on top end and topping out around 87, 88. So to get the most performance out of those engines, obviously we wanted to come out with a higher pitch range to be able to push those boats a little bit faster. And we approached that from a blank sheet. So we said, if we're going to come out with a new casting with a 27 pitch version of the Rev 4. Let's knock out different diameter options as well as thickness curves. So we tested everything between 14.5 all the way up to 15-inch diameter and a whole slew of different blade profiles to dial in the thickness. And we ended up with a 15-inch that provided great all-around lift and a really unique and pretty different thickness curve than the standard Rev 4, which is both more durable and increases acceleration in most instances.
Okay, so it's a level set for those of us who don't live this business every day. Okay,
Yep.
So diameter is the size of the prop itself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and in my world, most of them are 14.5, right?
Yeah, between 14.5 and 15 to 15.25 when you get up to the Bravos.
Okay, so dumbish question. Why do we not all run the biggest we can run?
So as you increase diameter and increase overall area of the blades, as well as add more blade count into the equation, going from a 3-blade to a 4-blade, you're also adding more stern lift. So if you threw, a big 15.25-inch 5-blade like our Max 5 on, say, a 70-mile-an-hour bass boat running a Torque Master gear case that isn't running really high above the water and doesn't need that extra blade area for the prop to stay hooked up, it's just going to add extra stern lift and also drag the RPMs down.
So again, and I in last week's video, I made a comment about this. This is not all science. There's some art in it too. There is knowing where that boat really wants to ride in the stern, as well as having the bow up out.
Yeah, and it's like you said, we have great engineers and great modeling software that could tell us the prop needs to look exactly like this as far as the overall blade geometry and what the diameter needs to be. But until you get out there on the water and test, it could be completely different.
Right. And so the new prop line, I just put a picture of it right there on the screen for the guys. Tell us exactly what y'all designed in that prop.
Sure. So we took the formula that we had come up with a couple of years ago for this 15-inch updated version of a Rev 4, which originally rolled out as a Rev 4, just from the racing family of props, whether it's the XP or Pro Finish or the full-on lab finish. And the different offerings were from 26 to 27.5, and that was it out of that one casting. We had a lot of success with that, and with the boats getting a little bit bigger and running higher engine heights more and more and getting faster, we decided to take that same formula and apply it onto all the rest of the castings down to 19 pitch. And we also make an 18 pitch out of a 19 with less cup. So everything between 18 and 25 pitch is now going from a Rev 4 on the racing side to the new Ventera lineup, which features that.
That's a huge range of pitches.
It is, yeah. So that's 8 different castings. Big investment, a lot of development that went into it. It took us just about 2 years again to fully flush out that product. So
not to be me, but are there any bass boat applications for that prop?
Yeah, I think certainly more of the walleye and multi-species guys will really like it. In the past, the Rev 4 was kind of sort of okay, but the Bravo FS was still a little bit better. But that bigger diameter will give those guys more trim authority and more lift, where I think that prop should run just as good, if not better, than some of our racing Bravo offerings.
Define trim. What did you call it? Trim authority?
Yeah, trim authority. So with that increased diameter, you get more blade in the water, which gives you more leverage. And then you're also extending the tip cup out from on the Rev 4, which was 14 5/8 diameter. Now it's up to 15. So you can think you've got all that more leverage with more tip cup.
Okay.
Out at max diameter, the authority on which you can trim the prop and your inputs on the trim have a lot greater output on changes that it has on the attitude of the boat.
So this goes back to our original conversation when I went from a 3-blade Fury to a 4-blade Fury. I felt the entire boat lifted, and that wasn't just something I imagined, right?
Yep.
And that's purely because, and I'm sure there's a formula for that, but at any point there's got to be 20% more blade in the water, I would think.
Yeah. So whichever way you do it, whether you're going up in blade count, making the area of each individual blades bigger, which includes the chord lengths, which is more or less the area or belly of the blades, as well as the diameter. Anytime you're increasing the overall area of the prop that's in the water, it's going to give you more lift. And obviously the degrees of that vary based on the different rake angles and how much area you're adding. But anytime you have more prop in the water, it's going to give you more lift. And
Okay.
the old notion that 3 blades are always just great for top end and bow lift has really gone out the window over the last 10 years, as you have 3 blades that act more like 4 or 5 blades with our inertia ecos, because those are big 16-inch diameter with huge ears on the props and a lot of blade area, and a big long barrel that provides stern lift as well. They really don't feel like a 3 blade when you're running them. They feel like a 4 or 5.
So you said something a minute ago. Remind us again the difference between pro finish and lab finish props.
Sure. So our pro finish is basically our standard finish here at Racing, which is blueprinted and wedged leading edge, compared to stock, let's say Mercury propeller from across town. More of a blunt leading edge to it, where we really fine tune it and wedge it back and blend it into the rest of the blade, as well as we blueprint all the cup heights within 5 thousandths of each other, which is really helpful for adjusting RPM as needed within 150 to 200 RPM range, and then being able to dial in the RPM and making sure they match on a multi-engine setup. And we also still zero balance them by hand. But a lot of our pro finish lineups also have different modifications incorporated. So Mercury Racing used to be just a custom shop. You know, we build maybe 1,000 props in a year, and every one of them was custom. The customer would call in with exactly the modifications that they wanted. It would be serialized, and it would just be a piece by piece basis. Well, starting around 10 years ago, we started taking all the most popular modifications, such as the different barrel lengths, adding the vent holes, different finishes and different cupping, and incorporating them into dedicated part numbers that any dealer can order off the shelf. So we'll still do any one-off custom build if a customer wants it. So that's gotten pretty few and far between, as we have, you know, if you include our CNC cleavers, we have over 6,000 part numbers just on the racing props.
Wow. So basically you took what all the racing guys did in the field and said, okay, we're going to make the ones that seem to get requested the most. We're going to make those props.
Yep.
Interesting.
Spot on.
And how many props do you think y'all will make this year?
We'll be between 14 and 15,000. We're usually about 10% of what Mercury Propellers produces.
Wow.
They'll be over 150,000.
And not to pick on anybody else, Mercury or whoever makes props out there. If a prop comes out of Mercury Racing, for sure the pitch is the same, the blades are the same. I mean, it's spot on,
yeah,
whether it's pro finish or lab finish.
Yeah, we take a lot of pride in our quality as job number one here. We could certainly build a couple thousand more props in a year if we started cutting corners and taking out some steps, but that's not my goal, and that's not the guys that are in the shop's goal. We have a zero tolerance policy for any kind of a pinhole in any of the blades, any kind of grind lines that might show through on the end product. If the cup heights aren't perfect before the prop gets shipped out, all of those criteria would be means for either adjusting it and fixing it before it gets shipped out, or just scrapping it all together.
Let me just throw out there for you. So those that are going to get scrapped, you know, we can, there's no reason to just throw them out in the dumpster out there. I mean,
well, we got a pretty good
X on them.
Yeah, we've got a pretty good recycling credit deal where we do get some money back. So that's pretty valuable 15.5 stainless that we're working with. But anyway, so that's the Pro Finish, which, gosh, I'd say 95% of our customers have switched to nowadays, because it really gets you from the standard stock Mercury prop. It gets you like 75% of the way towards a full lab. And it's usually in the ballpark range of 3 miles an hour improvement over a stock. And then to get that last 1 to 2 miles an hour, we do still offer our full-on lab, which incorporates all the same updates and tweaks that we do on the Pro. But then we also have the dedicated blade thickness templates that we lay out across every prop, and every single thickness point is blueprinted and duplicated from blade to blade. And that's how you get a super, super efficient prop.
So less than 200 lab finished props a year then?
Yeah, I would say we're right in that range, except for the Max 5. All the Max 5s that we build, and of course the CNC cleavers, are full on lab finish. We don't sell them any other way.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So I had a couple of questions that either came from our first videos or have come on since then that I want to kind of float by you. And you said something to me when we were talking about the guy's nitro, my video last week. And you made a comment about how the water was coming off the bottom of the hull.
Mm-hmm.
But then you made a comment further about how the water's coming off the lower unit. Explain what you meant by that for me.
Sure. So it's, I mean, really been important over the last 5-6 years with the advent of 4-strokes and us making the gear cases more durable to handle all the extra power. And doing a single drive shaft the way that all outboard gear cases are, the only way to make them more durable are to increase the actual size of the gears and the prop shafts themselves. So by doing that, you have to grow the gear case. And to maintain the efficiency compared to a smaller gear case, which oftentimes we've actually been able to improve upon with the bigger, is by raising it higher and higher. And as you're raising it, a lot of different factors come into play.
I'm sorry, when you say raising it in the water column.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
A lot of different factors come into play when you're doing that. Yeah. You know, one of the most important ones is how's that water coming off of the bottom of the boat. In a lot of applications, if it was more of a submerged gear case before with a smaller, and now you're trying to raise it higher to get more of that larger gear case out of the water, you run into a whole different dynamic and different type of water that you're dealing with coming off the bottom of the boat. And every single hull that these builders are building are different. Some have the notch transoms like we talked about, which have an inset running surface compared to where the actual transom of the boat is.
So I remember you saying that would be a Buller and Allison. Yeah,
a lot of the more high performance brands have been doing that for a while now. That's almost like having a built-in jack plate. And others are still flush. The transom goes all the way straight down to the running surface. Others have strakes and other elements added for lift. And then, like we talked about, the center of gravity is also immensely important. And as you're running bigger gear cases and bigger props, that tries to provide a lot more stern lift. So if the CG of the boat isn't right and it's a little bit too far forward, now you've got all this extra stern lift that's also making the problem even worse, and the boat's not going to run right.
Okay, so let's talk about that for a second. So in my video last week, I talked about, so there are a lot of guys have gone to lithium batteries.
Mm-hmm.
So you're stripping, let's call it 250 pounds out off the transom that used to be there. Yep. And on top of that, they're adding a 360 unit right on the bow. They're adding a live scope turret mount right on the bow. So now we're really starting to weigh the fronts of those boats over. Short of extending your jack plate or putting all your tackle in the back, is there something you can do from a prop standpoint to potentially help that?